What do you mean?
Well, it's 2 o'clock.
Yeah, but no tag has been made yet. Oh wait, I gotta mute the stream so that I don't hear myself. That would be annoying. Oh, Dave, a second. Welcome in, welcome.
Subscribed with Prime.
I'm sad because I got swept in factions. But nah. Alright, welcome in everybody to the PoGoRaids v15 draft, where we're covering the draft picks themselves. So we'll give everybody a minute to hop on in before we start going. I am most... Can they hear you, Hannah? Okay, I didn't think so. I'm most excited for Como. I want to see where that goes and see how well that works this season, because it's a new dragon and it's pretty exclusive.
Yeah, Como is I'm actually quite excited for that one as well, because A, it has Dragon Tail, so it obviously can be one of these Dragon Tail, Dragon Breathers for just stacking those. We know people love to do that in Master League especially. But with that close combat, it also is fairly viable in both Great and Ultra League, being able to KO especially things like G-Fisk, Umbrian, and other Dark/Steel types.
Like Registeel is a pretty decent matchup for it.
Yeah, true. Like, it's such a good subtyping for dragons, because Steel is like one of the 2 types that usually resist dragon. And, well, fairies still absolutely destroy you, but they do with most dragons. I think Dragalge is the only one that has decent play against them, and you need to run Gunk Shot, and you will never reach 2 of them because Charm is so oppressive. So that stacking that weakness to a double weakness isn't really as hurtful as you might think, especially because it means you're less farm if you do get it paired with a Charmer.
Yep, I agree. And then we also have a couple new fairies in Primarina and Florges, although Florges might have been around last season. But still, we have 2 new fairies, which make it tough for Komodo.
Yeah, true. Especially Primarina. I think it will be very good in Master League, at least in later round picks. But I think it will mostly be utilized in Ultra League. Well, not necessarily in draft, because Mandibus and G-Fisk get banned all the time. It breaks the core of these 2, which so little Pokemon actually do. Because the resistance of foul play and such makes it able to defeat Mandibus even before the Hydro Cannon release for it. And G-Fisk it can just waterfall down.
Okay, so you run a waterfall on Primarina. Interesting.
In Ultra League, I definitely think Waterfall will be the better pick because of, like I said, G-Fisk and Mandibus. Like, it breaks this core so perfectly, and the resistances are enough for Mandibus, while you need Waterfall for G-Fisk. Because Charm Hydro Pump is absolutely not enough.
And special thanks to our casters today. Apparently it's Crispy Chris and King. So who do you want to be? I'll be Chris, I guess.
I'm King. Okay.
Alright. Alright, and I think we should be about ready to get started. And so we've got, how many drafters? Is there 10, I believe? 2, 4, 6, yeah, 10 drafters. And this is the order of the Master League draft, starting with Heater and ending with Flume. And it's a snake style draft, so after Flume makes his pick, he'll make a second pick, and then it goes backwards, back to Heater again. Next, is any thoughts on what you think goes first?
I mean, there's always these couple of picks that have the highest potential to go first. For example, Dialga or Lugia, and I think I could very well imagine it just being Dialga, the essentially standard round 1 pick, but I think Zacian also climbed up to be a very good first round, first pick, since it's just so versatile with its moveset.
Yeah, I think the big three I think that always go first is Zacian, Lugia, and Dialga. So I would not be surprised if those go in some order. Depends on what personal preference I think is.
Yep.
So I guess we can start off by looking at what Heater's first pick was. And surprise, surprise, yeah. No, it's pretty standard. Dialga's the dragon that beats all the other dragons, so I mean, you can't go wrong with Dialga for a first pick.
And even the fairies and the one shields, at least.
Yeah, it can reach those iron heads.
A good couple of them.
Yep, and now we'll just have to see what flying types Heater pairs it with.
Chris is probably going to pick either Lugia or Zacian.
If I was to guess, well, it's going to be one of those two, and it's probably going to be Lugia.
Yep.
And there it is. And I do have a note from Chris that he picked Lugia specifically because Heater didn't, which is, very surprising. But yeah, Lugia is another really good generalist. Besides Melmetal and Metagross, nothing really hardballs with Lugia. So another really tough.
It's just so insanely tanky that it can even flip the rather bad matchup. So absolutely unsurprising to see it go at this early in the round.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Cabana is probably going to pick Zacian.
Although he does like his Zekrom, so maybe he shakes things up and picks Zekrom first.
Wouldn't be surprised. Zekrom is super good, but nah, Zacian.
Nah, okay, he goes pretty standard.
Yeah, Zacian, like I said, the Wild Charge, Close Combat, and Play Rough, these options are just way too good to pass up on. Its counters fluctuate depending on the moveset, and your opponents can never really know. And in a draft format where you can TM between all your opponents, you can just prevent your opponent from having a solid counter to it.
Yep, being able to switch between those 3 different charge moves, or even Fire Fang if you really feel like it, just makes it so playable in draft. Yeah. All right, now we have Stefan's first pick. It's Giratina.
Yeah, so unsurprising, also a very good Pokemon. Bulky, Shadow Claw, Shadow Ball, always such a good moveset, and one of those Zacian counters, especially if it doesn't run the Play Rough, it absolutely walls it.
And even with Play Rough, Giratina has a lot of play if you land the Shadow Ball and you shield the Play Roughs.
Yeah, Blue Anthrax, I could see, Mewtwo. Mewtwo also one of these absolute standard picks. It has a lot of versatility. It has the Shadow Ball as a legacy option, always running Side Strike, of course, because the move is absolutely broken, even 2-hitting Dialga in Classic Master League, or at least almost 2-hitting Dialga. Yeah, absolutely unsurprising.
Yep, Lugia is a great safe swap. And then, next up is Palkia. Palkia is the dragon type that beats all the later round picks. So it gets increasingly harder, besides Charmers, to draft something that beats Palkia. So it's a really good first round pick for Dutch Goku that will look better on as draft goes.
I'm a bit surprised to see Palkia go before Reshiram, Zekrom, and Giratina Altered. I think those 3 are usually better, but I don't know, maybe it's just that I didn't play the last 2 seasons and therefore maybe it got better during this time.
This is pretty standard for Palkia. I could see Altered going first, but I think it's probably the better dragon than Reshiram.
Okay.
And now we can look at Oscar's first pick, which is Kyogre.
Yeah, surprising. The best water type, only countered by dragon types, and even those don't really like to tank too many waterfalls due to how much they chunk, despite being resisted.
Yep, and Kyogre usually goes with either a steel type or another dragon, so I expect to see that from Oscar in the later rounds. Now we can take a look and see what Kelsey picked.
Yeah,
there's your Altered.
One of the best safe swaps in Master League. Absolutely bulky, and can even flip Dialga matchups fairly decently with the Dragon Claw spam. Has the potential Dragon Breath as well as an alternative. Just an amazing mon all around.
And we have a couple big names that haven't been picked yet in Melmetal and Groudon, which I expect to go pretty soon. Because they're usually really good first round picks, so I'm surprised that we haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, there goes Zekrom.
Yep, so we are running out of dragons.
We are at least the best dragons, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's see what Flume takes. The Dragonite, the OG dragon.
Mm-hmm.
The big
That
derpy
hurts
boy.
for Oscar because Kyogre Dragonite is really common pairing, so that takes away a common duo for him.
Yeah, let's see what Flume's other pick was. Ho-Oh. Absolutely strong picks at the wheel. Right now, has to be aware of rock types, but there's not too many of those in Master League, fortunately. I think essentially only Rhyperior with Smackdown, and Excadrill with the
Yeah.
Rock Slides. But
And Terrakion maybe if you're really feeling spicy, but yeah, besides rock type, those cover each other really well because Ho-Oh helps the steel weakness, and with Sacred Fire or Earthquake now it has a lot more viability.
yep. So
Alright, so
what
now we
does
see what
Zekrom Groudon absolutely amazing core.
why do you say that?
Like the only real hard weakness both have is Togekiss, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Other flying types like Lugia might also be troublesome, but Lugia doesn't really like the health charges Zekrom can throw at it. Or Crunch is also super effective. Doesn't do too much, but with the debuff chance, if you do get baited, the Wild Charge will most likely KO afterwards. And especially Groudon's biggest weaknesses are essentially Kyogre and Palkia, which Zekrom can both handle fairly well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, really heartbroken. Only has a weakness to Togekiss specifically. So I expect some sort of steel type to come. And now we'll see what Kelsey pairs the altered with, and that's Double Dragon.
Yeah,
So
Reshiram
another
also with the Fire Fang, like you noted earlier with the Zacian. This time a bit less spicy because Dragon Breath isn't like strictly better depending on the opponent's team, but still mostly you want to go with Dragon Breath due to how good it pairs up with the Crunch with the 15 turn pace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fire Fang I think is niche, but it can work against some teams like the Zacian team or the Dialga team maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see
All
what
right, now
Oscar
we'll
pairs.
see.
Yeah, Kyogre
Oh,
Melmetal also a very strong pair.
I am surprised that Melmetal went this late. I don't know what somebody could have taken Melmetal instead of, but saving Melmetal for halfway through round 2 is such a good steal for Oscar. That is looking like
Yeah,
a really good team.
14th pick is kind of insane for Melmetal to stay this long.
Mm-hmm.
Meloetta.
And then my personal favorite Pokemon in Master League Classic, Meloetta. She's so fun.
Is it really that good?
It is. It's the second highest stat product after Lugia, and with those Confusion Psyshocks, it just chunks everything that isn't a Steel type. So comparing that with Palkia, which handles Steel types reasonably well, it's a really good core, and I'm interested to see where Dutch Goku goes with this Meloetta.
Highly underestimated that thing then. Yeah, Garchomp
But
also
it's
quite the good dragon. Mudshot as a
yep.
high charging, low damage, fast move. Dragon Tail is the, so to speak, flipped alternative. High damage, lower energy, and absolutely amazing charge moves with Earth Power, Outrage, and Sand Tomb. Especially
Mm-hmm.
Sand Tomb being able to either give you an amazing bait move with the Mudshot combination, or debuff your opponent's defense to deal even more damage with the Dragon Tails. They're already oppressive.
Yep, and Garchomp helps Mewtwo with the steals that Mewtwo can struggle with sometimes. So that's again a really good core. And now I'm guessing we see a Gyarados with Stefan's pick because Giratina Gyarados is probably the most common pairing that we see in draft, in my opinion. And look, there it is.
Yeah, Gyarados
So yeah,
fairly easy to pick up later in round 2, I assume, due to all these picks that we've seen already being just at least a tad bit better. and therefore being picked earlier. So I can see why it is one of the most common pairings.
Yeah, they support each other really well. So I've used that pairing to great success, and I'm sure Stefan will as well. And now we
And
see
what
what
is
Cabana.
Cabana gonna pick? Zarude.
Okay, so Cabana again likes to pick teams that lose to Charm. So we'll see what anti Charm he takes next round. But Zarude is really good. It helps versus Origin, and it is a direct counter to Stefan's team because it beats both of those.
And that is true. The Zaza core. You do see Genesect late round 2 by Chris, pairing it with the Lugia.
Genesect has gotten a lot of viability increase since we keep getting more drives, so it keeps getting more moveset viability, moveset speciality. And Chris is a really big proponent of Genesect, so I'm not surprised that he takes it this early.
Yeah,
And especially in
as
champs,
opposed
it's
to
been going
Mew,
earlier.
which is TM sync. Genesect is more of a candy sync because you need to build one of each with the drives to
Yep.
have this option of running the different ones. But at least you don't really need to TM between the rounds and pray to the gods that you get the correct moves.
Yeah, so Chris will save some TMs from that because he just has to spend his dust. Although I think he probably has most of the Genesect already built. And now we'll see what Heater takes, which I'm guessing will be a Landorus of some kind. And
Yeah,
there's the
Landorus
Landorus.
Therian.
Yep, Landorus Dialga is a really good core. Not surprising to pair it with the Dialga there. I think that's really smart. And then he takes Yveltal.
Yeah, Yveltal,
So
very good pick as well, especially because Mewtwo with that potential 2-hit against Dialga is just essentially walled by this if it doesn't run the Ice Beam, which doesn't one-hit or even close to one-hit and doesn't even put it into Psy-Strike range, I'm pretty sure. So Yveltal, really good pick, especially also because it does counter the Giratina really hard. It counters the Root really hard. Meloetta, which is also quite tanky and has a lot of neutral matchups all over the board, especially, for example, the Palkia, the Dragonite, the Ho-Oh. Like, it's not too good against those, but it's at least neutral and it can potentially be quite the decent safe swap against some teams.
Heater is starting to build up a bit of a fairy weakness, though. So he's got to have something later on to take out fairy types, because right now Togekiss can 2-shield through everything.
Yeah, let's see. What do we expect Chris to pick? Mew. Okay.
So
He picks
you
the
mentioned that
Stardust
Chris
sync
was gonna.
and the TM sync. Yeah.
I knew the Mew was coming, and I had to laugh because you talked about how Chris was going to save some TMs, and now he's no longer going to save any TMs.
TMs.
Mew obviously is very versatile. It has access to like 35 different charge moves. So assuming Chris can work the TM roulette correctly, he can get at least a shield off of anything that Mew swaps into.
Now, what do we expect Banner to pick next?
He needs a charm counter, and there's still Excadrill and Metagross on the field, so that would be my guess. Either Metagross for pure charm, so you're going more RPS, or Drill, which is softer versus charm, but has a lot of play versus like the Dialga, which is really bad for Zarude and honestly playable for Zacian, or Zekrom, which Zekrom can do good work against this team so far. So I would say Drill, but Metagross, if he cares more about charm, would be my thoughts.
I think Excadrill over Metagross just because it's so versatile, especially with the Rock Slide being able to counter the flying types. Drill Run being super high damage, even neutral, because of that high attack stat. And the Steel type with the Ground type is a very good pairing. Only really losing to Water. Oh, Heatran! The spicy anti-charmer, but also the best one.
So my notes here from Nexus, or from not Nexus, from Cabana is that he forgot that Excadrill was a Pokemon, and so instead he takes Heatran, which is an anti-charmer. I don't think it's the best pick here, but it definitely helps his charm weakness.
Yeah, although it is fairly good against Crispy, because the fire spins make it super
Mhm.
good against Genesect, obviously, while Excadrill can get one-shot by the Technoblast fire, which he doesn't really have to be as afraid of with Heatran. And the
Yep.
potential Stone Edges are also super good against Lugia, and the alternative in Iron Hand is also not too shabby.
Yeah, I think you probably go Ironhead flame or not Ironhead, Stone Edge flamethrower for Chris. So, maybe this was a read on Chris's team. He's got to take some sort of water type or ground type to handle the Heatran. What else? It doesn't do
There we see Excadrill go
uh,
on Stefan's
that
team.
that might just be a pure revenge pick against Commanders to show him what he missed out on. Although Stefan is building quite a bit of a team weak to Zarude. It has play versus everything on Stefan's team.
Yeah,
What do you?
Excadrill's super good pick in general, and like you said, it's a bit of a hate pick, Spewing Cabana. Here you missed out on one of the best anti-charmers. You picked one of the more spicy ones. But also,
Mhm.
like you said, it's in general also very good here. In particular, I think Kelsey might have quite the problem with it if they don't run Fire Fang Reshiram, which would make Reshiram much worse against the first two picks that Stefan
Yeah, I
picked.
don't think you can run Firefang against that team, not with the
Exactly.
Gyarados and Giratina.
Yeah, so making
But
it more attractive only to say, nope, you want to do it, but you can't.
mhm. But the drill helps with the charm weakness that the double dragon or pseudo dragons in Gyarados has. It just now is quite weak to Zarude, so I expect some sort of Zarude counter to come
Yeah,
next round, maybe a
absolutely.
Charmer. Although with the
Togekiss is still up
anti-Charmer,
there, and there we go. I jinxed it.
yes, you
Yeah,
did. Master
unsurprising, it's
League,
the best charmer in Master League by far. The flying type makes it even better. The stats are it's fairly tanky. It does
mhm.
enough damage to shield down the Dialga. Yeah, not really a surprise.
I'm not surprised it went this late because the Master League Champions draft is notorious for not liking Charm. But there comes a point where it PvPoke recommends it, and there's not much else you can do besides add a Charmer, and that helps with the dragons a little bit because Garchomp, especially with Mudshot, struggles with the Dragon Breath users. So Togekiss will help a lot with that.
Yeah, especially Heater has
And
to be really aware of Togekiss currently, as his only super effective revenge is Stone Edge, which doesn't one hit, and Iron Head, which doesn't one hit either. Like, he needs the Dragon Breath damage additionally. And like I said
mhm,
earlier, it can't 2 shield down that Dialga. So he can just shield down the Landorus, he can shield down the Dialga, and Yveltal is kinda really in a quite the hard spot to get out of if it gets paired with the Togekiss.
yep, and he can run Dragon Tail, Garchomp. For decent against Lando, Lando has the superpower, and that barely does half, I think, and then you just fast move down the Veltal. So Anthrax has a pretty good team against Heater, despite having the Mewtwo and Yveltal matchup.
Yep. Yeah, what do we expect Goku to pick?
Um,
Which of the amazing picks are still up there?
what do we have left? We've got Metagross is still around. Zamazenta, Landers Incarnate, other Charmers, Latios. We're definitely off the first couple round picks, so we're definitely getting into the lower stuff. But I could see either some sort of like anti-steel or maybe anti-dragon.
Yeah, either anti steel or anti dragon is probably the correct call. I tend to anti steel especially because Malueta doesn't really do anything against them with the resisted psychic type moves, and then Palkia, while it does have the neutral Aqua Tails, it only does resisted damage with the Dragon Tail. So I
Hmm.
could see like something like a ground type like Landorus, or if he similar to Cabana forgets about Landorus Incarnate or doesn't have one build, which I highly doubt, he might pick Rhyperior maybe.
Okay, Rhyperior could be pretty good here. Let's see what the pick is.
It is
And
my
nice
first
call.
encounter.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Helps with the steel types. And so far, Goku doesn't have. It's his first Ice Week Pokemon, so we'll see if he continues to build a team that's weak to ice as he is known to do.
And also, Goku has that best counter in the entire game against Kyogre, so he can absolutely afford to add one Kyogre weakness to the team.
Yeah, that's something to keep track of. Is Kyogre gets tougher to make build weaknesses for, or build counters for as the draft goes on because you lose all these dragon types. So
Yep.
getting that Palkia early means that you can be a little bit soft versus Kyogre.
Yeah, Oscar's only real weakness currently that I can think of is like electric types, which there isn't too many amazing ones, but I could see him go for Rhyperior as well.
There's Zekrom would be pretty tough for Oscar right now. So I could see either Latios is still around, so you could take a dragon type. Because Kyogre Dragon or Melmetal Dragon is a really good pairing. So he's got Latios, which is probably the best second tier dragon left.
Yeah, especially
And
with
looks
the
like
Dragon Claw,
chat thinks Latios.
Latios.
Yeah, it looks like Detoborg thinks it's going to be Latios. Let's see if he's right.
Wouldn't be surprised. It's still Leon. So, also a Zekrom answer, but not quite the one we expected. Yeah, Sylveon, one of the 3 best Charmers in Master League, one of the only 3 that get this high on the CP if we ignore Primarine, because you do need quite... Well, usually you want to build a better IV one, which some people might not have yet, maybe. And Sylveon is just so easily accessible, and most people have a hundo of it, or at least a 98%er. So yeah,
So it looks
Sylveon,
like
not that surprising a pick if I'm honest. Also, pretty good against Kelsey's team currently.
Yep, it has a lot of play against Kelsey's team. And right now Melmetal looks really solid against Kelsey. So she needs something to handle the Melmetal because it's a very neutral matchup versus Altered, of course, and has a pretty solid Reshiram matchup as long as he doesn't go Fire Fang, which I don't think you can run against a Kyogre.
Yep.
And David thinks that Kelsey picks Metagross here.
I wouldn't be surprised. Metagross still up there, and Metagross quite the good one of the best charm monsters, especially from those that are still around. And also has that Earthquake for the Melmetal, which has to superpower it, which is only neutral and debuffs itself. So I could see Metagross being picked here.
Would help with the charm weakness a little bit too.
Yep.
Ooh, it's a fairy
also
panic.
going for a Charmer.
We've had a little bit of a fairy panic this round. Back-to-back Charmers with a Togekiss 2 picks before.
Yeah, people hate picking on Heater's Yveltal, it seems like.
They're trying to get away around the Dialga team, and Charm is really the way to do it.
Yep.
Primarina is another good Ho-Oh answer. Not Ho-Oh, not Ho-Oh. Kyogre answer because it resists with Waterfalls.
If he decides to go Waterfall.
He could, although I don't know if you beat Dragonite then with Waterfall.
Actually, if you don't get Hurricane, you probably do, because Hurricane is only neutral and all the Dragon type moves are still double resisted. I don't know how much a Hurricane does, probably around 70%, so it might be similar to Dialga with the Iron Hat damage.
Yeah, I would say that's probably about accurate. So
the problem is you don't really have the bait move yet with Hydro Cannon, so your cheapest charge move is Psychic with 55 energy. And since Waterfall is also resisted, it probably doesn't do too much damage against the Dragonite either. Yeah, Heartbroken Kid, like I said, pretty weak to Togekiss, so probably pick an anti-Charmer. He might get the Metagross then.
We've talked about Metagross for a couple picks now, so it would make sense for it to go now. And yeah, it does help with his Togekiss matchup. And he's fine versus Kyogre. Well, he's neutral versus Kyogre because Groudon, even with the Earthquakes, can damage back. So I could see a Steel type, and really the only Steel type left is Metagross, unless you go really deep like Magnezone. But somehow I don't think Magnezone goes this early.
Yeah, me neither. I'd be very surprised to see it go before Metagross especially. Yeah, we do see the Metagross pick.
I mean, we did have Heatran go before Excadrill, so.
True. But also, we did hear the explanation from Cabana that he just forgot about its existence. So
Yep.
that
So I think
happens. People.
Metagross
forget
makes
about it.
sense. Helps versus
Jirachi
Charmers,
exists.
which
True, Jirachi is still on the table.
yep, Jirachi is a good anti-charm. But if you like me and you have a terrible one, it's not worth building.
I'm gonna build mine regardless if it's good or not, just simply for the reason that I can have my shiny for Great League and then power up the normal one, depending on if the shiny is better for Great League than the normal one, that is.
Right. So, what do we think Flume takes here?
If
He's
Flume,
got
like I
a
said,
bit of a
he's weak
rock
to rock
weakness.
types. Yeah,
So
maybe
we're
a
out of
bit
steel
electric types
types.
too.
Yeah, electric has been an issue, but the only real electric type is Zapdos or Raikou. So maybe he could take Rhyperior just to get it away from his team and to help with
Yeah,
those electric
that
types.
would be quite the good hate pick against all the others, because it is like the strongest core breaker for him right now. And also, due to it having Mudslap, it would counter opposing rock types as well if somebody goes for that Terrakion.
So
But
yeah,
also,
I could see a rock
Flume
type
does
here.
have 2 picks, so I'd say Rhyperior might quite potentially be one of the 2. And which one do we expect the other to be? I'm not quite sure, but maybe Jirachi?
Jirachi could work for an anti-rock. With the Doomsire, such a strong move. Maybe he takes some sort of. It's a little early for a fighter.
Actually, he can't really pick Jirachi if he goes Rhyperior, because Lando would just be way too dangerous.
Yep,
Lando
that's a
is
good point.
essentially the best rock type. So probably something that's decent against it, like Mamoswine maybe, or
Mamoswine would be pretty good versus
Mamoswine is
Heater's
probably the
team.
best ice type, is it not?
Yep.
Yeah, so
I could see
maybe
Mamoswine.
Walrein?
Walrein could
Walrein is
work.
pretty tanky, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it go early round 4 with Rhyperior end of round 3. Let's see. Zamazenta. Okay.
Okay, there's the rock resist. And Zamazenta is like Zacian, but with stronger close combats and more neutral crunches. So
And potential Moonblast.
does it? Oh yeah, I forgot it has Moonblast.
Yeah, it
So
gets
yeah,
Moonblast, and
Zamazenta is really
Moonblast
good
is like
here.
one of the strongest moves in the entire game, in my opinion. Because it's just strictly better than essentially all the other fairy type charge moves. Because it's just as expensive as Play Rough, but does more damage and has a debuff chance. It's cheaper than Dazzling Gleam, but does the same damage and has the debuff chance. And the only other one is Fairy Wind or... No, Draining Kiss? Disarming?
Draining Kiss, yeah.
Draining Kiss and Disarming Voice.
Yep.
And both of those are quite underpresented. Like, very few Pokemon learn them.
So
and it
Chad
has
is
the
calling.
Spicy Ice Fang potential, yeah.
Chad's calling for Latios to not get back to Oscar, so he can't get Whale, Melmetal, and Latios.
It
But
would be kind of insane to get Latios after that Sylveon in round 3.
I don't see Kelsey taking Latios because she already has 2 dragon types. And Heartbroken Kid has a pseudo dragon and Dragon Tail Groudon. So I don't really see them needing a Latios here. Flume might be able to take Latios just to get it away from him, and Ho-Oh Double Dragon isn't terrible. But he's still a little weak to. Let's see. He's a little weak to Electric still. So maybe like Zekrom would be pretty good against Flume right now.
Yeah,
so he
he's
needs something
essentially
for
forced
that.
to run the Blast or to some Mamoswine. There we go.
There you go. Yeah, that was a good call.
2 picks correctly.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
Mamoswine is a pretty good pick here, in my opinion.
It's good for Zekrom, decent first Groudon. Has play versus Heater. It's pretty good versus Cabana. Maybe you can't run.
Yeah, the Bulldoze one hit against Heatran is just quite strong.
Let's see what else. It's pretty good against Stefan, because you just have to worry about the Aqua Tails from Gyarados, but otherwise you beat everything else pretty
Yeah, and
handily.
you outpace to the third charge move by 1 turn if they don't sneak in somewhere and then deny you.
For which matchup?
Mamoswine versus Gyarados. You need
Right.
12, 12, 10 turns, while they need 12, 12, 11 due to
Mhm.
that 1 turn fast move. So if you do not get denied slash snuck against, then you do outpace in the one shield.
Right. And looks really good
Or
against Blue
one
Anthrax's
shield.
team as well. He's got a bit of an ice weakness with the Garchomp Togekiss. Although Mewtwo looks very safe against Flume. He's got nothing to resist the Psy Strikes, which are just going to chunk everything.
Yeah, Mewtwo is super impressive. Even if you do have a resist, you still have to play around it. But yeah, he definitely still needs something that does at least resist the Psy Strikes. Yeah, what do we? Oh, there goes Walrein. The
All right.
the
A little bit
second,
of an
the
ice panic.
arguably second best ice type.
Would you say it's? I would say Walreign's better than Mamoswine generally.
I can see the argument because it's a good bit tankier, but I haven't
Mhm.
really seen too much of it in Open Master League yet. I've only played it a couple, like the last time we had Master League Classic Premier, and it did a very, very good job, especially with the potential Earthquake, and its bulkiness is enough to beat Togekiss even in the 2 shield if I played that correctly and if I remember that correctly. So I could see people rating that over Mamo.
Oh, okay, I'm told it's the second best ice type and the best one has been drafted yet, which I assume will be Regice. Which I'm a fan, and especially with Thunder, it's gotten a lot better. So we could see that. Maybe who needs an ice type? Not sure who needs an ice type really. Maybe
Yeah,
Stefan
Blue
could use an ice
Anthrax
type.
only needs an anti-ice type.
Yeah, so you could take an ice to wall the ice. Um,
True, the only resistance.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's the only
actually,
resistance.
Regice is fairly good against against Walrein because it doesn't have any super effective moves, and Earthquake does barely 50%, I assume, if even.
Yep,
And
and you can run Thunder.
Mamoswine has the potential Stone Edge, but doesn't one hit. And
Yeah,
Blizzard probably almost does because neutral Mamoswine is super squishy. So
yep.
I could see it do like 70% approximately,
So we've got one
if
pick left before Oscar
not
takes
more.
Latios.
And then
Does
Walrein,
Kelsey
like you
take a
said,
third
Thunder.
dragon? Mhm. Do you think Kelsey takes the dragon just to keep it away from Oscar, or does he get a Latios in round 4?
I'm afraid they won't.
I don't see a need for a third dragon type. I think that's just throwing it
Yeah,
for yourself,
it's just
unfortunately.
overkill. At that point, you'd be kind of forced to run either Shadow Claw Giratina or
Mhm.
Fire Fang Reshiram because you never need free Dragon Breathers, essentially.
Mhm. What
But
other
let's see.
what other picks are left that you think could go? We've still got Snorlax around. We still
Yeah,
got
Snorlax is a good call. It's so neutral against essentially everything
mhm,
because there's almost no normal types except for the Meloetta, which is
mhm,
also Psychic type, so it's only single resisted licks. The 90% of the time neutral body slams are also quite damaging, especially if you have the shadow version.
yep.
And the superpower deals with the steel types that do resist the body slams. So
Mhm.
I could very well see Snorlax be picked at least this round, if
Yeah,
not like
it
Kelsey
should
then by
definitely go this
somebody else.
round. Snorlax falling to round 5 would be criminal. Um, we've also got a comment of Florges in chat, which I think is very true. It's the last fairy type, really, besides Granbull that's around. So
Yeah,
if
the
a team
problem with
wants a fairy type,
Florges would
they got
be
to
that
take it.
the team would kind of be fairly weak to Zekrom, because
Who,
Florges
Kelsey's team?
only does charge. Yeah, because
Yeah,
Florges
yeah.
only throws charge moves, and
Yep.
your 2 dragons also take super effective damage. And Primarina, while it does charm it down, it can't really take the Wild Charge. Wild Charge from Zekrom is just way too strong,
Hmm.
and essentially same goes for Florges. And with that need of throwing charge moves by Florges, I don't really know if it would fit in well too well there.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Gardevoir. My bad. That's also a fairy type.
And it has travel.
Yes, it does. All right, let's see what Kelsey took.
Yeah,
And there's
Snorlax.
the Lax. Yep, it was about time for Snorlax to go, and it's a safe pick for Kelsey. She's got two things that resist fighters, so doesn't have to worry about that, and keeps it away from her Giratina, which is really nice.
Yep. And doesn't have to think of running Dragon Breath against one team due to the Snorlax option. Can just go
Mhm.
Shadow Claw or Dragon Breath depending on what they'd prefer,
True.
depending on the rest of the team. So
Yep,
a
that's a
bit
very
more
good point.
flexibility instead of being essentially forced into running Dragon Breath against the Snorlax team.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a case of more picking to you don't have to face it rather than picking for your own team.
Yeah, Oscar, we've talked about it before, probably gonna pick Latios. The strongest Dragon Breath around, that is still up, and he doesn't have one yet, which is something you usually want in Master League. Dragon Breath is
Yep.
just way too oppressive to not pick.
Yeah, I think if Oscar doesn't take Latios here, he's been bribed. But um, it makes the most sense. What else? You could take like what Rhyperior, although I think he wants someone to have a Rhyperior for his Kyogre to deal with. Really, I don't see anything other than Latios that could be viable. So let's see. Yep, there it
Yeah, it is
is.
Latios. There we go.
That is a really, really good round 4 pick. He's got 3 solid cores in Melmetal and Latios and Kyogre and Melmetal. That is looking like a very scary team to face.
I wonder if Latios, the counterpart of Latios, will be more prevalent now that the Shadow variant is being released. The Dragon
I
Breath
don't think
will
so.
be much more oppressive than it used to be, but it still doesn't have any amazing charge moves, with Psychic being the cheapest one.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it'll still struggle because its biggest thing was its bulk, and now it's just going to be slightly stronger with less bulk, and other dragons are still going to overpower it. So I don't think Latias has much play, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't fail to notice that Kyurem is also still on the board, which is, I believe, the last Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw out there, except for Haxorus.
Yeah, Haxorus switches Dragon Tail, but close enough. Yeah, so yeah, Kyurem is still left, so that could be a team that's missing a Dragon type. Who's missing? So
I think.
really, no one's
Oh,
missing a
Cabana is.
dragon.
Cabana is.
Oh yeah, Cabana could take a Dragon type. Um, so he could take Kyurem. He needs
Yeah, Crispy has the
something
Dragon Tail
for.
Luigi.
Mhm. He's got a decent anti-fighting in Zacian, but he could use a better anti-fighting. Um, but he's got to make up for that Excadrill miss. Unfortunately, that's gonna
Oh,
hurt.
and Como, of course, also
Oh
Dragon
yeah,
Tail and Dragon Claw. The new pick that we were so excited for.
I was so
So
excited for Como,
excited
I
that we
forgot about it.
immediately forgot about it.
That's just
Yeah,
gonna depend on
Crispy even
resources.
reminded us, and so
Yeah.
did Borg.
Yep.
Yeah, Gudra is also still around. That's true. Gudra with the pretty flexible nuke options in Power Whip, Sludge Wave, and Draco Meteor with the Muddy
hmm
Water Bait. Also quite good.
So what does Goku need? He's got a very solid core.
Zapdos.
All right, he needed Zapdos.
I can
So
see that. Like, Flume is
what is
essentially
Zapdos
being
for?
core broken by Zapdos, except for the Mamoswine, that is.
hmm
Especially with the super effective drill packs against Zamazenta, which at least 2-hit KO. Like, Zapdos does so much damage with it. It's really not
Yeah.
okay. And yeah, even Dragonite, you probably 2-hit KO with the drill packs, I assume.
hmm And maybe not Drill Peck, but you got to land a Thunderbolt. But still, that's not a terrible matchup, and it looks really good versus Cabana. Those Drill Pecks chunk Zarude, and without being a ground type, Heatran struggles versus the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, that is true. Especially Zacian, like, yeah, it has the neutral Wild Charge or Play Rough,
hmm
but Zacian, that's like the one weakness Zacian has. It rarely one hits. And
Yep.
if you don't run Play Rough, not being able to one-hit is really dangerous because you do get the double debuff, and essentially everything an opponent throws at you will one-hit KO you after you debuff yourself. So you have to shield after. And if you do happen to run Play Rough, you need more snarls to get to those moves, and therefore take longer to get rid of opposing Pokemon, giving them the chance to farm up more energy and use it.
And what else do we have?
Can't
We've
do a
got
KO D-Knight with Drill Peck. Okay, I'm sorry, David. I don't know. Maybe it's Shadow Zapdos. Who knows? Shadow Zapdos ought to do it.
Yep, and he can run the Shadow Zapdos, which has some good play, and I've liked my Shadow Zapdos in the past.
Or if Flume runs Shadow D-Knight.
That Zapdos is also pretty good for Crispy's team, which the Lugia right now looks pretty solid against the Palkia and Meloetta because it super effective Dragon Tails on Palkia and resists the confusions from Meloetta. So the Zapdos is a decent anti-Lugia pick there too.
Yep. Yeah, what do we think Blue Anthrax will pick?
He's got a bit of
He
an
is
ice
weak to
weakness.
ice, yeah.
Yep. So I could see what or maybe a fighter could work.
Yeah, I could see Conkeldurr being picked if I'm honest. Especially with the Stone Edge, it also has a lot of play against Flume. Because it can one-hit KO the Ho-Oh and do a ton to Dragonite, being able to counter it down afterwards.
So you like Conkeldurr over Machamp?
I usually prefer Conkeldurr due to the raw stat power and due to its essentially guarantee to get shields. The problem with with Machamp is quite often that the Pokemon can just tank a move easily and don't really have to care. But with Conkeldurr, you have to you force shields, which is super good in combination with the Mewtwo, which loves shields down matchups from your opponent.
The chat thinks that there are no fighting types because the fighting panic is saved for round 6, which is fair. The end. Any good fighting types that
Which definitely needs an anti-ice
early.
type, so what would the alternative be then? Most steel types are gone, if not all.
Um,
Es- Do we count Escav as a fighter, though? It does have the counter.
it's kind of a fighter, but it is steel type. So Blue Anthrax has to take something for. So let's see what that is.
Regice?
Yeah. Okay.
Regice! Yeah,
That's a good
as we talked about
guys.
before, the ice to wall the ice.
And with the thunder tech, you can like Flume pretty hard with thunder. Thunder Blizzard probably for Ho-Oh and Blizzard for the rest of the things.
Yeah, neutral Blizzard, super strong, one-hit KOs the Dragonite with the double effectiveness. Does a ton to the damage line. I can absolutely see that. But also Heartbroken Kit is a bit weak to Blizzard with the first 2 picks. And then the Thunder for Walrein and should two-hit KO the Metagross.
Yeah, you can on Thunder Earthquake because you don't need. Oh, I guess you do need Blizzard.
Yeah, you want
Prejudice
the
is going to
Blizzard
run out
for
of
the
charge,
Groudon.
unfortunately, but probably sacrifice the Walrein matchup because you still have a decent one with the Earthquake.
I think Thunder is probably better because it's a bit cheaper, and both Thunder and Earthquake should 2-hit KO Metagross, but maybe I'm wrong here, and Metagross can tank 2 of them.
I don't think Thunder 2-hit KOs Metagross.
Yeah, okay. Then Earthquake is probably the go-to pick because you still need 2 charge moves for Walrein.
And the Regis looks pretty good against Heater's team as well. With the ice weakness in Yveltal, and then Dialga does not appreciate the Earthquakes. So Regis always looks really solid to me. So I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, so picked an anti-ice type by picking the ice type.
Yep.
Yeah, we did talk about it before. We even said he might go for that, then we forgot, but yeah, pretty decent pick. What do we think Stefan is gonna pick? He is fairly weak to the root still.
Yeah, Something
So
rude.
Gardevoir,
Guard
perhaps.
could work. Yeah, he could take a Charmer. I think he needs Roods or as a fairy type would work. And we keep mentioning, I think. Fighters keep looking here.
Yeah, Stefan's problem
Until,
is, even if he wanted to, he can't really pick a fighter because Togekiss would just shred his team then. Gyarados hates it, Giratina doesn't like it, Fighter's absolutely afraid of it, and then Excadrill. Your audio is breaking up. Yeah, I
yeah.
can hear it too a bit. Might be my internet.
No,
Maybe?
it's on.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, already 2 weaknesses to Togekiss. With a fighter, it would just be a third. Excadrill only double resisted fast moves. Single super effective Rock Slide, but still needs to hit 2 of them. And with how squishy it is, the charms do chunk a lot.
All right, is that any better?
The buffering is gone.
Okay. All right, hopefully that fixed it. Cool. So yeah, I think Stefan needs some sort of he needs a fairy for Zarude, and something to not get shut down by Togekiss, which he could just throw Charm at Charm and call it good. So yeah, I think that's. Oh. Stefan doesn't respect Charm, so apparently that's not going to happen. So let's see what his pick is.
Gorgeous.
Okay, the other fairy type that's
Fairy
left.
without charm. Yep.
Although that doesn't do great versus Zarude because of the Vine Whips.
It probably
But
doesn't one hit with Moonblast either.
no, most likely not. So I don't. That still isn't great versus Zarude. So I expect Cabana to bring Zarude every game right now versus Stefan.
The root matchup is IV dependent. The root
Okay,
IV or Florges IV?
it's definitely going to be Zarude IV because that's the thing that you can't change, where
That's
you
true.
can get a better Florges. So yeah, that
But
Florges is pretty. Both. Wow, I'm wrong. Okay. What else is the Florges? The Florges is pretty good for Flume. It's decent against Mamo and Zamazenta. Everything but Ho, obviously. And with the Gyarados and Giratina, Ho is really struggling here. So it's really looks good versus Flume.
Cabana, I could see pick something against Flume's team, especially against the Zamazenta, because 2 of his Pokemon are weak to fighting, and the one that isn't can't really do too much against it with only neutral moves, except for if he runs Play Rough, that is. But I don't know if he can afford to do so against Flume, because if he runs Close Combat Play Rough, he gets walled by Ho-Oh, and if he runs Wild Charge Close Combat, Wild Charge Play Rough, then Mamoswine is rather bad. So I think he might pick something against the Zamazenta and other fighters that might arouse later.
Yeah, that's the way to beat Azation players, to make sure that they can't pick. They have to lose to something with their moveset, and then you can exploit that. So I could see something for Flume's team.
Maybe Gardevoir.
Maybe Gardevoir. You know,
It still has been slept on, even with the Charm Madness last round.
True. It's that and Granbull is the last Charmers left. The last good ones. At least you could take Clefable if you're really feeling spicy. I took Clefable once, one draft.
Or Granbull. I know the people love Granbull.
Granbull is a fan favorite, and Granbull has won a lot of divisions and a lot of championships.
Yeah. So what do we see?
I think we're thinking a Charmer, and it's not a Charmer. Okay.
That's also quite good though. With the Dragon Tail option, it's the Dragon Tailer that he was still missing, and it's also the one that he could afford.
Yeah. So let's see. What is Milotic? Milotic looks pretty strong versus Flume's team.
Yep.
So there is the answer for Flume because it resists Ho-Oh, and Mammoth Swine pretty well.
Also, Heartbroken. Super effective damage against Zekrom, so of course has to be aware of the wild charges, but does chunk a lot with the fast moves. Walrein only has the neutral Earthquake, which doesn't do too much because both are super tanky and it's only neutral without stab. Groudon has to be super aware of the surfs, and Metagross can only hit for resist damage outside of the Earthquake, which also doesn't have stab. So it also looks quite good against Heartbroken.
And has pretty good play versus Oscar. If you have to run Dragon Tail, which I think you have to run Dragon Tail, which is better for the Latios and Kyogre, and then you just have to worry about the other two, which Heatran actually handles them reasonably well. So the Heatran pick coming in clutch again for Cabana.
Yeah, only has to be aware of the superpowers by Melmetal, but can tank one if I recall correctly, fairly well.
Yeah, it can tank one, and then Fire Fang through the rest.
Fire Spin.
Oh yeah, well, I think it is both.
Does it?
Or is it Fire Spin?
It had
I don't know.
Metal Claw and Fire Spin.
Honestly, I don't remember. But
Nobody utilizes Heatran. Everybody just runs
yeah,
the one move.
I can't tell you I've ever used Heatran, so I wouldn't know.
But true, it doesn't have stab. It has the move that you never want to run. Bug Bite for Zarude, that would be super spicy. But also, he's the one who has the root, so...
Yeah, he has the root, so how does that work?
Also, Fire Spin is still super effective, but with additional stab. But yeah, Bug Bite for Zarude. Bug Bite is indeed... Yeah, indeed. What do we think Crisp will take, though? He's fairly weak to Ghost, I'd say.
Yep. Yeah, Ghost is pretty strong versus him.
Giratina being the only Ghost up right now, because Giratina is like the only real meta Ghost, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Dark types are kind of decent, because Genesect can hit them with the super effective Bug type moves. And against Yveltal, which has the flying to neutralize that, it can still run the Thunder Drive, the Shock Drive.
I don't think you can run Shock Drive versus Heater, though. You have to run Burn Drive,
That's
I think.
True. Yeah, he needs to run Burn Drive. So essentially, he's forced into being weak to Yveltal. So I think he might pick something against that. Maybe Gardevoir or Rhyperior, potentially, which has the...
You really want Gardevoir to go.
I'm super surprised about Gardevoir not being gone yet.
What else does he need?
I usually take Gardevoir fairly early once Togekiss is gone, because in my opinion it's like the best Charmer due to its oppressiveness, because it has the highest attack stat out of the Charmers. And if we're honest, you usually want to pair it with something that you resist the fast moves anyways, so it's all about being oppressive instead of being able to tank the moves.
Maybe he takes a Darkrai for the Giratinas. That helps his Ghost weakness.
Yep.
Darkrai, you know, is very
Darkrai
squishy.
Wouldn't be so helpful for Yveltal, though.
No, not really. I mean, you win CMP. You should at least. So you get to the Focus Blast and you CMP Focus Blast, but I don't think it one-shots Yveltal, and Yveltal's Focus Blast one-shots back, so that's probably not the pick.
Yeah, what do we see by Crispy Chris?
The Rhyperior.
Yeah, Rhyperior. We do see the Rhyperior. So yeah,
so
picking something against Yveltal. Also fairly good against Stefan with one super neutral matchup against the Giratina. One fairly bad against Gyarados, but he can technically force his way through if he runs the Smackdown over Mudslap. However, there's the Excadrill, with Mudslap much better, obviously, but has to be aware of the drill runs. Then Floor Jazz has the Vine Whips, which hit for double effective, but other than that, they kind of just chunk at each other. So
I think Gyarados runs a Waterfall versus Chris, because...
Oh, that's a good point, because there's no reason
you want
to
Rhyperior and Genesect. Yep.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I don't know if Rhyperior is the pick for Stefan. I think it's pretty good versus Flume, as we talked about earlier.
Yep. Only really bad against Zamazenta, and not great against Mamoswine, but still at least neutral Smackdowns.
Yeah, but the Rock type against those first two is pretty good. It also looks pretty good against Chris's team, so it could just be a pick to save it from himself.
A hate pick, so to speak.
Mhm.
What if Heater takes 2 dragons, though? Yeah, let's see if Heater does pick 2 dragons. I could see him pick Kyurem, if I'm
Would
honest.
it? Yeah, Kyurem is still
And,
around. He could take that.
and probably an anti-charm.
He needs an anti-charmer.
Yeah.
What's left? We've got Jirachi left.
Glaceon, Jirachi.
I
Oh,
can't think
Glaceon
of any
only
other.
for Togekiss, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
Como.
Glaceon. Yeah, Como is the best anti-charmer.
Como, best
But
anti-charmer confirmed.
yeah, I could see Jirachi going here, and then
I
what
think
does he need
Jirachi is
coverage
quite
for?
likely to go.
And maybe something else for Kiss, or something for Kiss if he doesn't take Jirachi.
Hmm. The thing is, with Jirachi, he would be fairly weak to the opposing Lando. Because
Mhm.
the Lando I outpaces Lando T, obviously, with the Rock Slides.
Yep.
And it also has Earth Power for both your Dialga and Jirachi, and it has the Rock Slide for your Yveltal. So that
Right.
might
So
also turn into a problem.
and Palkia, besides Dialga, will be pretty good there too because it resists the Doom Desires and
Yep.
throws super effective Aqua Tails onto Lando. So
Yeah, Lando
Goku's
essentially
team
goes
is
down
looking
to
pretty
one
tough
Aqua
for
Tail
Heater.
and a couple of Dragon Tails.
Yep. So let's see if he takes the anti-charmer that we expect in the first round
Yeah,
for.
we
Yep,
do see
there's Jirachi. So now he needs something for Goku's team.
Absolutely. Yeah, Avalok?
What?
I don't know about Avalok, if I'm honest, but might be.
Avalok would be good for Goku.
I wouldn't be shocked to see Avalok, especially due to, like you said, Goku's team. It kills the Lando, it kills the Zapdos. It has a very neutral matchup against Meloetta, I assume, and then the same for Palkia, because both hit each other for neutral, both are fairly bulky. You have that Body Slam, which isn't too spammy due to Ice Fang, but spammy enough. So, maybe?
Yeah, I could see Avalok going here. Trying to think anything else that could be useful. Chat says Regirock. What's the Regirock there for Chris's team? It's not bad versus Chris's team. Pretty good versus Flume too.
Against Flume, I could. I just wanted to say potential Zap Cannon, but no way. Stone Edge is super effective against both flyers as well. But I
Yep.
was thinking about where he could utilize that spicy Zap Cannon. Oscar probably actually, because he can hit Kyogre for super effective with that spammy Zap Cannon. 16 turns only for a guaranteed attack debuff and super effective move. Melmetal, neutral against Sylveon, and then he could Stone Edge the Latios.
Yep. Yeah, Regirock could do good here. Let's see what it is. And
Yeah,
there
it is
it is.
Regirock. Good call by Ditoborg.
You do too much draft, David.
It is an answer to the much feared Togekiss, but it's still really weak to Lando. Like, yeah, it hits it for neutral damage with the 11 turn Stone Edges, but can't really tank an Earth Power in the further in shield matchups.
Yep. So he might need something for the Lando later on. Because yeah, right now it seems like Lando is a really good safe spot for against Heater.
Yep, and especially with him having the very last pick of the entire round of the entire table, it might be hard to get a decent counter pick in still.
Yeah, you're left with the very last pick, so you take what's left.
Yep.
A
What do we
little bit of a
think
rock
Chris will
panic
take
here.
after his Rhyperior take? He's fairly weak to Mamoswine except for his Genesect and potentially Mew depending on what moveset he does elect to run.
I think he goes Douse Drive against Flume for the Ho and Mamo, if I was to guess.
Oh yeah, the Water Drive also hits
Or
Mamoswine.
Shock. Actually, I'm changing my mind. It's going to be Shock Drive because it hits Dragonite. And then you can just run whatever Steel type move it gets Metal Burst or whatever it is.
I think your first call of Shock Drive, Douse Drive was probably better because Mamoswine is much more dangerous than the Dragonite. Because the super effective Smackdowns, the super effective Dragon Tails by Lugia, they both kind of counteract Dragonite already, while Mamoswine is still kind of an open weakness he has, which the Douse Drive helps a lot with.
Yeah, Mamoswine.
Or
That's what it
he
was.
could
Or
run
Magnet Bomb.
Magnet Bomb and Shock Drive.
Yeah. I think I don't see any reason to run X-Scissor here against Flume. So I think you go Magnet Bomb and Shock Drive, and that hits everything neutrally or super effectively.
What do
So
we think he will pick next? He's also
what we've
fairly
got?
weak to Melodic.
Yeah, Waterfall Melodic is decent. It doesn't beat the Psychic types, but it beats the other two probably. Although he probably goes. What drive do you go against Cabana? Do you go Burn?
Currently, he is still very open because due to the X-Scissor, he's already absolutely done with. Actually, he might go with no drive. I think maybe, like super spicy idea because Heatran would absolutely obliterate you. You would have 0 defenses, but you could one-hit KO the Zarude essentially, or farm it down after one X-Scissor. And with the Magnet Bomb for Zacian, that would also be fairly decent.
Yeah,
And
I think
Melodic
no drive
you
makes
can
sense.
only hit for neutral anyways if you don't have the Shock Drive.
So there's still a couple dragons on the field. Komao, Haxorus, and Goodra is still around. Does he need a dragon type?
People hating Kyurem.
Oh yeah, Kyurem. You know what? It's whatever. I can't remember.
I don't like it either. Don't worry.
Rest in peace, Kyurem, for not getting Icy Wind. But he could take a dragon type here, which would help versus maybe something else for Flume's team, or good versus Goku's team. A dragon wouldn't be too bad.
I'm gonna be honest. I love Haxorus in Master League. I ran it in one draft, or at least no, in 2 drafts, and it did really well for me, especially because it has this super spammy combo of counter Dragon Claw and Night Slash. So it can hit a lot of things for super effective damage, especially in this Dragon Pestrate meta, and it 2-hits a lot of stuff with the Dragon Claw. Like if you farm down something, the Pokemon after usually has to waste its shields on it. And the potential to run Dragon Tail over counter also helps a lot, because you can go this much more fast move, oppressive route, pairing it with the Lugia for double Dragon Tail. So I wouldn't be too shocked to see him pick Haxorus, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Or maybe next round, at the latest.
I don't think it doesn't last till next round. I think it goes this round at some point. Yeah. Let's see.
Goodra. Yeah, we do see him pick one of the dragons. It is the thick snail with the big nukes and the good bait move.
What is that for? That's pretty good versus Cabana's team. Because you can run the Gunk Shot or the Muddy Water for the Zarude and Heatran.
Yeah, Muddy Water, not too good a move, but probably 2 with the Dragon Breaths might already be enough to get rid of Heatran. Also, the resistance to Fire Spin forces it into throwing at least 2 charge moves to get rid of you. But
maybe he goes Bug Bite for on Heatran for the Mew, and then now isn't throwing resisted fire spins.
That would be very interesting. Stefan, I don't mean the move is good, but if you have only nuke moves, then you're glad to have any move that costs 35 energy. So 35 energy is essentially good enough to be a bait move, to be a good bait move.
All right, what does Cabana need?
Water, not too good a move.
If he runs Dragon Tail Melodic, he's still a little weak to Fairy, or to Charm specifically, because he only has Heatran, which is a very one-sided anti-Charmer. So maybe something for Fairies.
Yeah, he does have the best anti-Charmer, but It isn't really enough, and with I think it was 5 people having well, currently 3, and then Gardevoir is still up there.
Mhm.
So yeah, I could very well see him pick an anti-charmer slash anti-fairy. But which ones are even still open?
I mean, you can take a Gardevoir to just rule out another Charmer, or now you're getting into like the Escavs or the armored Mewtwo is still around. That's a pretty good pick. It's a really safe
Yeah,
pick.
Armored Mew, true. It can just outbulk the Charmers.
I could see Armored
Yeah,
here. It's a pretty safe pick for him.
let's see. Does he go for the Armored? He does go for the Haxorus! Even weaker to charm, but at least the good boy.
Mhm.
The good axe dude.
Oh, we also have Scizor as an anti-Charmer.
True.
So okay, so Cabana stacks the fairy weakness some more. He's gonna really rely on that Heatran for the charm teams. Will be interesting to see if he's able to pull it off.
Yeah, I think he has to pick an anti-charmer in the last round at this point, because he only has 2 neutral matchups, 1 good one, and then 2 absolutely horrendous ones. And Melodic is forced to run Waterfall to not make it horrible.
Yep, and then you struggle versus the dragons.
Yeah, exactly.
So I still
But yeah,
think Stefan
let's
needs.
see. What do we think Stefan picks here?
He needs a Zarude counter still.
Yep.
I don't like Florges as a Zarude counter, personally. So I think he still needs something for Zarude. Maybe Haxorus is a pseudo fighter, so is it time for the fighter panic?
Is it time for the fighter panic, or is somebody actually gonna pick Gardevoir?
I don't
don't
think
know.
Stefan takes Gardevoir. I think he's too
Yeah,
anti-fairy.
Stefan doesn't respect charm.
So let's see what his Zarude counter is for this round. Ah,
Swampert,
yes.
very good Zarude counter. The super effective Sludge Wave makes it the perfect counter to Zarude, obviously.
Mhm. So,
Well, obviously not, but it's decent against Heater.
yeah, has good play against Heater. Good versus the Lando and Jirachi and Regirock. And if you can land the EQ against Dialga, that's a solid matchup. What else? It's pretty good versus Heartbroken. Against the Metagross Groudon.
Yep.
Mamoswine and Ho-Oh is solid matchup. So I think everything but Cabana's team, Swampert looks pretty good for.
It's not even too horrible against Cabana's team. Like, the only thing it really has to be afraid of is Zarude and then Haxorus, but Haxorus is super squishy. And Melodic, yeah, okay, Melodic hits you for neutral all the time while you have to hit Earthquakes, but the Earthquake still chunks quite a lot. Makes it farm downable.
And obviously, Swampert has a pretty good Heatran matchup.
Yeah, it's a bit good. It's fairly decent.
All right. What does Blue Anthrax need? He's got a really balanced team. He's still a little soft versus Ice.
Mostly
He's
against
only got
in particular due to the Stone Edge option.
Yeah, that Mamoswine team could be tough. So he might need something for Mamoswine. He could take something for. He's a little soft versus Kyogre. He could take something for Kyogre because he's got nothing that resists waterfalls.
That is true, and also Kyogre essentially forces your Regice into running Thunder, because Earthquake just doesn't really do the cut, I think.
So yeah, he could take a Kyogre. What Kyogre counters are even left though? We've got Raikou. We've got Tangrowth.
Is there any grass types besides Tangrowth that are even picked, and Zarude that is, that are really picked in Master League?
Not really. If Olaf is playing, then you could take Venusaur, but otherwise, no. So let's see if he takes a Kyogre counter. And then there it is. Yep.
He just picked the Raikou.
Nice. Yeah, so that honestly it's not as good of a Kyogre counter as you'd hope because the waterfalls just add up, but it's the best of what's left, really.
Also, Raikou has that additional Shadow Ball to at least make it a bit better against Latios, as opposed to just having the Wild Charge to resistantly hit it.
Yep. Yeah, I think it looks pretty safe versus Oscar's team, so that's a good pick. Although if you run Shadow Ball, I think if you want to hit the Shadow Balls, I think you're gonna have to run Thundershock, which makes your Kyogre matchup even worse. But I guess we'll see what he ends up going with.
What do we think Goku picks now in round 5? What is he really weak to? I still think Mamoswine is a fair issue for him due to especially in particular Lando and Zapdos.
Mm-hmm.
Man, people
So,
are really weak to that Mamo.
mm-hmm. Mamoswine looks really good. It's just the bulk just doesn't always perform well enough, unfortunately. But yeah, I think Goku could use something for Mamoswine. He's got a little bit of an ice weakness. So maybe
Walrein
a
especially.
fighter. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Walrein would. Well, Zapdos is fine versus Walrein.
Does it one hit with Thunderbolt, or does it enough with Thunderbolt?
But it's
Or are
close
you
enough, and
forced to
if
run
if
Thunder?
Goku has Shadow, then that's going to be even better.
Okay.
But I don't. Yeah. So yeah, he's got a bit of an ice weakness, so he could take some sort of fighter or. I'm really leaning into the fighters now, just because there's really not much else left. Armored Mewtwo's still around. That's a fairly neutral pick.
Yep.
He
Yeah, we
could take
talked about
another
it earlier.
dragon?
The problem with Armored Mewtwo would be double Psychic. I don't know
Hmm.
about that. Like Meloetta, Quick Attack isn't too great with doing close to no damage while generating an okay amount of energy. And having double confusion isn't really too amazing, I think.
I know there's definitely some matchups where Quick Attack is in play. I think he could run Quick Attack. Well, he could run Quick Attack versus Chris's team with the Mew and Lugia, but now that he's got Rhyperior, I don't know if he can anymore. But Quick Attack definitely has some play, but if you go double Psychic, then it makes even more sense. So I could see Armored here.
Yeah, let's see. Does he pick the Armored? Gardevoir! There we go.
There it is. There's your pick.
There is one of the better Charmers that were still up, except for the Nexus was really. Yeah, I haven't seen Meloetta play too much. Like I've seen it last season on one or two streams, but I don't know. I'm not too sold. I'm gonna be honest. Like it feels fairly tanky, but mm, he was way too weak to Double Dragon. That is true. He has 0 Dragon answers, and he could just be neutral all the way through with, for example, Giratina and Reshiram. So yeah, that's fair.
That's really the only double dragon team. Well, I guess actually Stefan can go Dragon Tail Origin against that team. There's no reason to run Shadow Claw. But now you have a reason to run Shadow
Now,
Claw.
now there is a reason to run Shadow Claw. Yeah.
Yep,
Chris could also run triple Dragon Tail if he wanted to, technically, and
he
will
could.
run double. There's essentially no reason to run extra sensory on Luigi, so he always has the Dragon Tail Luigi plus Dragon Breath Gudra.
Hmm. What does Oscar need on this insanely strong team with
Oscar is about to make double dragon, according to Toborg. So yeah, what is open there? Momo is still there. Kyurem is still there. Hydreigon.
Hydreigon is an option. I don't like the option of Hydreigon, but it exists. Um,
It is something that is there. It's not great, but it exists. Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
I don't know. Hydreigon doesn't really have the stats. Doesn't have a great array of charge moves with usually Dark Pulse, Dragon Pulse, but sometimes Flash Cannon. But it's still not too good. Yeah, I agree.
Maybe something for the Raikou that we just mentioned that wasn't too bad against Oscar.
Yeah, the dragon
Same with.
would do that just fine. So
Mhm.
Kyurem or Como, I could see that.
Yep. Let's see.
probably Kyurem then, because it's more available. Avalok.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So what is this for? This is for what? Maybe the
It's
Zekrom team?
fairly good against Chris,
Yep. Yeah, it
because
has a lot of play
Chris is
against Chris.
close to forced into shock drive, so he can't run the burn drive.
Is he though? Because
So
he can run burn drive
I
is
mean, shock drive
hmm,
is much better against Kyurem, and Exeter doesn't do enough to two-hit KO. So I think so.
right.
But yeah,
Yeah,
burn
he doesn't
drive
have a
now makes more sense due to Melmetal and Avalok.
yep. Hmm. It's going to be really interesting seeing what the different drives that Chris does.
Shock and MB. Yeah, Shock and MB would also work. True, Magnet Bomb also hits it for super effective. I always forget that it has the Magnet Bomb option.
Mhm.
The problem
Yeah,
with
Magna
Shock
Bomb
and
would
Magnet
be
Bomb is
solid.
that he only has the neutral Magnet Bomb against Latios then, but should be enough as Latios is fairly squishy. That is fair.
Latios is a fine matchup
Yep.
for Genesect with Magna Bomb because the X's or
You're
the Fury
resisting all
Cutters. Yep. What
Okay.
does Kelsey need? She's got a really balanced team.
Kelsey a bit weak to Zekrom, but not too weak, and yeah, other than that, super good team in my opinion as well. Has that amazing safe swap and Snorlax against most teams.
Mhm.
So yeah, could
Ooh,
essentially is free to pick, I think.
Meloetta could be a bit of an issue because the licks are resisted, as are the Shadow Claws. Although, yeah, you go Shadow Claw here on Giratina. So Meloetta could be a problem. Maybe something for that.
Toborg saying
Mm,
Kelsey likes Ascaf. Yeah, I wouldn't hate to see Ascaf here. I'm gonna be honest.
I do have in my notes that Escav is one of her favorite Pokemon to use in all leagues. So,
Oh, I
foreshadowing.
think I think the only quote unquote issue with that would be that double Dragon Breath wouldn't be too amazing against Cabana then, because Heatran. And Primarina would be much better with Waterfall then. But Snorlax with superpower is still fairly decent against it, and it's not like Shadow Claw Giratina is bad or anything, so I can
Mhm.
see
And
Escav here.
Escav would be good against Zarud as well.
True. Yeah, it can I assume it can tank a Dark Pulse. I'm not quite sure. I know Escav is super squishy, so I would be surprised if it essentially went down to 1 with
No, it
some
can
extra
definitely
positive
tank
damage.
one, and the Vine Whips do
How
about
well
negative
can it
damage.
tank?
So I'm not sure about that, but I know it can easily live one. So I think that's a good matchup for Zarud.
I
Um,
think it does like 70% probably.
mhm.
Maybe
All
only
right, let's see.
60.
Let's see
Yeah,
if she goes
Kelsey,
Escav.
Escav. Yep,
Yeah, there it is.
Fighter Panic starting.
Hmm.
Other
Yeah,
people are
that's
now
true.
reminded fighters do exist. Here, you should take one as well. The Haxorus earlier didn't do it, so now the the Escavalier also comes in and says, "Hi, I too know counter, and you also need one."
True. It's round 6, so now everyone takes their Dialga counters. Um,
Escavalier being
so,
one of the better ones as well, due to the
mhm,
resistance of Dragon Breath and the super effective drill runs, as well as the Mega Horn for Mewtwo, Mew, and all in all, just an amazing neutral move due to it having the absolutely ridiculous stats of 110 base damage for 55 energy, being
mhm.
a better Shadow
Besides
Ball.
the besides Landorus, Escav looks really good against Heater. It
Yep, even
beats.
the
It has
Yveltal doesn't
flavors
really like the
everything.
neutral Mega Horn.
No, Yveltal's probably fairly neutral. But yeah, that Mega Horn will chunk. So that is a very nice pick for Kelsey. I think that has a lot of play.
Yep. Yeah, Heartbroken
What
Kid.
does
We did just
Heartbroken
talk
Kid
about the
need?
Fighter Panic potentially starting already,
Mhm.
so maybe he goes for Machop or Conkeldurr?
And we've got Fighter Panic. We've got a couple dragons left in Kyurem and Como.
Mo
So
being a fighter as well, at least
true,
in disguise.
that fits both boxes. What does he need? He needs maybe something for Kyogre, because Groudon and Metagross struggle a little bit. Um,
Yeah, Dragon type would fill that role fairly well.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah, let's see if he
I
takes
could
the
very well
Como.
see a dragon. Como, not as
It just
successful.
depends
Yeah,
if he has if
he
he's
does
got
pick
the resources
Como.
for it. Yep. All right.
Apparently he does. The bigger question, does he have a decent IV one? Or did he just go,
Mhm.
okay, doesn't matter, I just need one for this draft, it's
Mhm.
okay.
Just got to bank that you have a good one, or you will get a good one before the first matches.
Yeah, I think people do have time until today, or no, in
Yeah,
3 days.
the first matches are due today, I think, or very soon at least. So he's got a rush on it pretty quickly, but he had a little bit of time. What
It did
does
spawn
Flume?
much, much more commonly than Axu did when it was released, so potentially he was able to do a lucky trade before, so not
Mhm.
too hard to get at least a decent IV one.
And chat's saying that they've drafted things before they even had them registered. I know Goku drafted what he drafted Hydreigon and Garchomp, I think, before he even had Gibble or Dino registered. So that's impressive.
That is impressive. Yeah, Flume's last wheel pick, last 2 picks for him,
Hmm.
so he can't really adjust to the next picks that the others are gonna make, but he is able to get in the best, potentially best 2 picks that are still up there.
Hmm. He's still a little weak to rock. Um, there's Terrakion and Tyranitar left for rock types, so he could take something for one of them, maybe a fighter.
Yeah, he has the Zamazenta as a fighter, quote unquote, but it
Hmm.
doesn't have counter, which essentially makes all the other fighting types viable and valuable because counter is just
Hmm.
like by far the best move in the game, fast move that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I could technically see him pick Machamp or Conkeldurr, because Zamazenta, like I said, doesn't have that best fast move, and
Hmm.
having that fast move pressure additionally would help him out quite well.
Yeah. He's a little weak to Kyogre, with only Dragonite being the only thing that can answer Kyogre. So maybe Kyurem for the double dragon strat.
With him being at the wheel, Heartbroken Kid just filled both roles as in one, so he has to use both slots now if he wants to fill both roles.
Hmm.
Additionally to what he already has, I could see that. Yeah, I could see him go Kyurem and Machamp or Conkeldurr.
Hmm. Let's see what
Yeah,
his
well,
first pick is. So
T-Tar. Yeah, okay.
T-Tar.
So he hate picked the opposing rock types.
Hmm.
So since there is not too many rock types in the entire Master League meta, essentially just Rhyperior and then Regirock and some semi rock types like Landorus and Excadrill. And
Hmm.
of course, T-Tar, which he just hate picked. So yeah, a hate pick
Yeah,
doesn't seem too bad here.
nope. My notes for Flume were on Tyranitar was that it looked like a menace for a couple teams, including his own. So, like, it's not too bad versus Stefan's team. It can run Bite, um, and do pretty good work, and it looks good versus Chris's team. Um, again, probably running Bite.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I
I
think
know
T-Tar
T-Tar
makes
with
sense.
Bite can just put in so much work in some time. And it's not too squishy either. Like, the only problem T-Tar in general has is its multitude of weaknesses, and its double weakness to fighting. So as long as it
Mhm.
dodges these, it can essentially bulk through a lot of things.
And right now there's only really a couple fighters taken, so we still have the fighting panic. But maybe Flume gets lucky and no fighters get drafted for some reason.
Yep. Well, we are in round 6 now, so fighting time
It's
panic
t- it's time for the fighter panic. Let's see what Flume's first fighting type is on this round.
if he falls into the panic. Armored Meteor,
Ah,
it has the dynamic punch.
yep, that's like a fighter, and it's really good versus all these round 6 fighters that are sure to come. And is just a really solid generalist Pokemon. So I think Armor is a really good pick here. That's really good value.
Yep. I'm a bit surprised it survived this long, but yeah,
Yep.
absolutely chunking with the confusions, even with the super defensive stats. Side Strike still absolutely insane charge move. And then a
Yep.
multitude of fast of charge moves with Rock Slide, Earthquake, Dynamic Punch, and if I believe there was a fourth, I think it's Future Sight, right? So essentially these three and Psy Strike,
Yeah, yeah.
which is Legacy.
But if you can build a couple Mewtwo's, one with Side Strike and one without, I think you're set.
I like it against Heartbroken Kid, by the way. Metagross being the only real answer, because the others don't really like the neutral Psy Strikes. And in Walreign's case, the Dynamic Punch or Rock Slide. And in Komo's case, the super effective Confusions and Psy Strike.
Yeah, it's really safe versus Heartbroken. I think you run Side Strike, Dynamic Punch for the Metagross or Earthquake. But yeah, that's solid there. It's pretty good versus Oscar's team. Besides the Latios, but otherwise it's pretty solid there. Let's see what else. It's
just so tanky. It can flip a lot of matchups that you wouldn't really expect from a Pokemon usually.
What else? It doesn't look great versus Chris's team just because he's got 3 things that resist confusion, but otherwise I think it's a very solid pick and it's a really good round 6 pick to take at this late.
I'm probably gonna run Rock Slide against Chris for the Lugia.
Yep, yeah, I think you run Rock Slide. If you don't have Side Strike, I think if you have one without Side Strike, I think you leave that on the bench.
Yeah, Rock
And
Slide
you
Dynamic
run-
Punch for Rhyperior as well.
I agree.
Yeah, good call.
Okay, let's see. What does Heartbroken Kid need? He's already got a fighter.
And a dragon.
He's got a
another
double dragon. He could take a second fighter. He could take. I don't know what he needs. He's got a pretty solid team. What is he weak to? He's weak to Palkia a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true, especially with the resisted Meteor Mash and Bullet Punches by Metagross. Even the one thing that does resist the Dragon Tails isn't too great against it.
Yeah, so maybe something for Palkia. Mewtwo looks pretty decent if Blue Anthrax has a Shadow Ball one. Side Strike Shadow Ball is very neutral versus whole team. Although that's Mewtwo is neutral versus most teams.
I'd say Darkrai, but I think Darkrai is too spicy to pick, if I'm honest. I could see it, but also I would imagine he'd pick something different.
Yeah, I don't think Darkrai goes. It's just too squishy.
Is there dark types still, except for Titar and Yveltal and Zarude?
Hydreigon is still around.
Oh, true. But does he want another dragon type? Like another dragon breather as well?
Yeah, I don't. That's a lot of dragon.
Yes. The problem is, Como, I believe, doesn't really have an alternative, and neither does Zekrom. Like, Charge Beam is not an option, and Como, I don't remember what the other move.
It gets Poison Jab.
Poison Jab? Okay, then it actually could run Poison Jab, but I don't think it will.
There's too many ground types and steel types to run Poison Jab, I think, against the rest of this team. Like, you could maybe run it against Cabana for Zarude and Zacian. But otherwise, I think you want Dragon Tail.
Yep.
So let's see what he takes. I'm honestly curious.
Empoleon.
Okay. So what is that for?
Too much with Palkia, but
no,
it does resist all the moves at least.
It's pretty good against Flume's team. Against the Mamo, Titar, and Ho-Oh, and then resist the confusions from Armored. So that's not a bad pick for Flume.
3 Pokemon are super effective with the Waterfalls, and then it also hits Zamazenta for super effective with the with the Drill Pack.
And Chris says that's for his team, which I think makes some sense.
Gets essentially countered Genesect, which we talked about earlier. If I recall correctly, we said it was going to run Burn Drive.
I don't think we talked about what it's going to run for Heartbroken Kid.
Against Heartbroken, true. Yeah, I could
I don't
see
know what
how
he
I
runs.
could see the burn drive for Metagross if I'm honest. But now that the Empoleon is there, maybe Shock Drive to hit both Walrein and Empoleon, and then neutral against
Yep.
Metagross. Then
Yep,
Mew,
I agree.
Mew we definitely can't tell. People will run random shit quite often.
Nah,
Like
I
I
mean,
could see
he could
Shadow
run
Claw,
Wild Charge.
Surf, and Dragon Claw maybe.
Dragon Claw, I was going to say Ice Beam, Wild Charge for Groudon and Zekrom.
And
And
Como.
Como. Yep.
That's true.
But yeah, Mew's going to be a big toss-up.
Yeah,
It also
Mew
depends how
has
many
way too much
TMs Chris
stuff
wants to spend.
Yep. And then Rhyperior also gets absolutely destroyed by Empoleon. Don't even have to talk about that. Waterfall, double effective. Yeah, just bye.
He runs Mud Slap on Rhyperior against Heartbroken
Yeah,
Kid,
but
though.
does it do enough in comparison
It
to
doesn't beat
the
Empoleon, but it
Waterfall
definitely
effect
chips
back?
it. Yeah, but I agree with David that Genesect looks tough for his Heartbroken Kid to run. So
Yep,
I'm not sure we see it there.
Yeah, I completely forgot. Groudon gets the Fire Punch, which almost one hits. So yeah, that's true. Okay, what does Kelsey need? She did get the Fighter, and does have 2 dragons already as well. Has a Charmer.
Yep.
Has a Safe Swap. So essentially all the boxes ticked, isn't it?
She's got most everything. Now it's just a pick for a team that you're a little weak to. What that team is, maybe the Palkia team. Although Primarina is pretty solid against that team.
A bit weak to Togekiss, I'd say, because 2 dragons, Primarine charms back. Escavalier can't really do much to Togekiss, so maybe something against that. She has no Lugia counter? Yeah, so essentially flying types are the biggest weakness here.
Yeah, I agree.
In particular, Togekiss and Lugia.
What anti-flyers are left? You've got Terrakion.
Registeel.
Yeah, you could take Registeel. Kyurem with Blizzard.
Yeah, but is Kyurem really a Togekiss or a Lugia answer?
Well, no, but
maybe
yeah,
Glaceon.
I'm not sure. Okay.
Would be fairly spicy, but it's essentially the only ice type left. Yeah, so what do we see by Kelsey?
Suicune. Okay.
Okay.
You know what? It's got Ice Beam.
Essentially tells, yeah. And the potential bait with Bubble Beam, Hydro Pump as a new.
Oh.
Ice Fang as an alternative to Snarl.
I forgot about Articuno.
Oh, Articuno exists, yeah, true. I guess. Yeah, that is true. Problem with Articuno would be that it's weak to Raikou again, but so is Suicune, so... Yeah.
But yeah, Suicune isn't too bad. Those Ice Beams are going to chunk Togekiss and Garchomp a lot, and if she goes double nuke, the Hydro Pumps will hit the other 3 things very solidly.
Yeah, what do we think Oscar fills into his last slot? He has the Dragon. He has Kyogre
doesn't have a fighter
as an
yet.
amazing neutral. He doesn't have a fighter. True, we were notified of fighter panic in the last round, so maybe Machamp then.
Yep, I could see Machamp or Conk. What is he? Let's see. What does Oscar need something for? He's got. Again, Palkia is a bit of an issue. Although I'm not sure what Palkia counters that are also fighters are left.
I mean, there isn't too many fighters to begin with, and yeah, like the only real good ones are Machamp and Conkeldurr from those that are still left, and then Lucario is fairly spicy, I'd say, and I can't really think of more. To be honest, Heracross is also there, true, but does the bug typing really help him?
The bug typing does not help.
But it doesn't.
And it compounds his fire weakness.
He does have the Latios and the Kyogre. Kyogre for those though, and Rock Slide from Melmetal.
Okay, yeah, I would bet a fighter here makes sense. Let's see what he takes.
Yep,
And
Machamp.
there's Machamp.
There we go.
So Oscar picking Machamp over Conkeldurr, likes the spammier cross shot rock slide over Dynamic Punch Stone Edge. And
Machamp
what does
being spammier, having the shadow possibility as well. I can see why people pick it over Conkeldurr.
Yeah, and Machamp looks pretty good against Heater's team. Just has to worry about the Jirachi mainly. Everything else it can chunk pretty hard.
Yeah, what do we see Goku? What do we think? I'd say Conkeldurr. Like Fighter Panic. Fighter Panic got a cake. Especially with Heatran being good against 3 of his picks, and then not, let's say, subpar against the other 2.
Yep, I could see a fighter. What else is available that is still around to take? He could. What is he? He's a little weak to. What do we talk about? I don't remember what we said he was weak to last time. A little weak to ice, maybe. So you could take, again, a fighter would be good for those ice types.
Yep,
and
yeah, we did talk about him being fairly weak to Mamoswine earlier. So that would also be quite the motivation to pick a fighter.
Yep. Yeah, Mamoswine puts in pretty good work against Goku's team. So let's see that fighter.
Scissor. Or
Okay.
Scizor,
So
as people like to call it.
Yeah, Chris says that if he took a fighter, then he's a little weak to charm, which I agree. So this
That's true.
helps versus the ice types and versus the charmers. So
and against Dragon Breath also, at least with the resistance, it's not too shabby against those, which we did talk about earlier. That Gardevoir was mostly a pick to make to solidify that a counter against those.
Yeah, he went from no charm resist to double resist and a single resist in the last 2 picks, so that's pretty solid. The new ads: Olaf, Florges, Como, and Primarina.
Yep. Yeah, also fairly good against Cabana in general, only being really weak to the Heatran. And looking at his team, I could see Haxorus run Dragon Tail. His counter is only neutral against 3 picks, while being double resisted by 1, resisted by another 2, while Dragon Tail, like I said, only resisted by the last 2 and being super effective against 1. So Scissor only really bad against Heatran, and then potentially Melodic if it does run Waterfall.
Even with Dragon Tail, I think Melodic probably is better, just because
he could run
X-Scissor isn't the strongest move.
Fury Cutter with X-Scissor and Magnet Bomb.
Then you really struggle versus Zacian.
Do you?
I think you want Bullet Punch for Zacian, yeah.
Okay. Now I thought you could just tank a move and then go for that Magnet Bomb after getting hit. But I could see Scissor lose CMP there.
Yeah, just a little bit. What does Blue Anthrax need? We're on the Fighter Panic. So we still have Conk around, we still have Heracross around.
Caesar doesn't really tank moves, yeah. Rip Caesar.
We still have Kyurem around. Would he benefit from Double Dragon?
He's
not
also
really.
a bit weak to Charm. He has 0 resists against it, so
Yep.
I don't know whether Blue Anthrax can really afford to pick a fighter or a dragon type.
Although, I don't know what steel types are left.
He might go for a poison type, maybe. But there isn't too many good poison types either, is there?
No. You could try and make Nidoqueen work, but otherwise, no, there's not too many.
Yeah, Nidoqueen, the one and only answer to Zacian.
Or Roserade, as
Best steal
another,
at this point is Registeel. That is true. Registeel shouldn't be too shabby, if I'm honest, with the Zap Cannon. Pretty tanky.
Yeah,
Would be on the
I can see
spicier side,
Register
but
going
we
here.
are in round 6. Not
Yep.
Cobalion. Cobalion wouldn't really help with Charm though, since it doesn't even resist it.
Now let's see what Blue Anthrax takes.
Conkeldurr. Okay.
Okay.
So
So
stacking weaknesses against Charm, but has
he
the
does have
neutral
one of the
Mewtwo.
Charmers. Go ahead.
Has the neutral Mewtwo, has the Charm bag, has the best Charmer in the game for Master League. Neutral Regice. Raikou, I think, gets KO'd before it reaches 2 wild charges sometimes. Might be sneak dependent, so yeah, I could see him be able to handle those still.
I was going to say he's got one of the Charmers, so it's less that he has to worry about because he's got one on his own team. So really, it's only Goku, Oscar, and Kelsey that have Charmers for him.
That is true.
All right, what? All right, will Stefan take a Zarude counter this round, please?
Whiskash. Nah, yeah. I really think he needs a Zarude counter. We are in the fighter panic, but most great fighters are gone. Heracross is the best one still alive.
Yep.
And then, as an alternative, there's Lucario, which also has that fire type weakness. Not too great either. So yeah,
Or
I could see
Terrakion.
Heracross. I could see Heracross work here.
Mm-hmm.
Or Terrakion.
I think he's got it. I think Heracross makes the most sense. He needs. Please take a Zarude counter, Stefan.
Virizion would also work, but Heracross resists all of Zarude's moves equally. Granbull, that would also be a Zarude answer.
True. There's the best Charmer left in Granbull.
The fan favorite. So what do we see Stefan pick? He doesn't respect Charm, but maybe.
I think Heracross is the safe pick here. I think it makes the most sense.
Agreed.
Let's see
So
the Heracross. Yeah, there it is. So
Fighter
finally, 56 picks later, Stefan takes his first Zarude counter.
Shouldn't be too sad to get Heracross though, as it is the best one against Zarude in particular. Because it does resist all of its moves as opposed to only the Dark Pulse.
Alright, so what does Cabana take?
Has the potential double Dragon Tail, has a Steel type, has one of the best safe swaps in all of Master League, has a tanky Dark type, fairly kind of weak to Palkia.
Yeah, Palkia could be a problem. But I don't know what's left that beats Palkia. Besides, like, Granbull is still around.
So Granbull.
That would, yeah. I think Granbull is the only thing that's left that really beats Palkia.
Yeah, let's see. Do we see Cabana go for Granbull?
Terrakion.
Okay.
Okay, so he went for a fighter.
To Palkia?
Yes.
I think this is quite interesting because, well, Zarude is probably also fairly okay against Palkia due to how bulky it is and its neutral damage. So I guess Melodic, Zacian actually could really easily run Play Rough here. Play Rough close combat then? Because there's no real
What do you need close combat for? I think you run Wild Charge over close combat.
That's true, but is there really a difference here between Wild Charge? Yeah, actually there is, because Wild Charge is also neutral against Gardevoir and Zapdos.
Yep.
Yeah, Wild Charge is strictly better, you are right.
Yeah. So, what is this? This rock type is pretty good for Flume.
Yep.
And with the Sacred Sword, it handles the T-Tar very well. Struggles a bit
while also
versus
resisting all of
Mewtwo.
Its moves.
Yep. Yeah, so this might be a Flume pick. because it resists the snarls from Zamazenta. Doesn't take super effective from the Powder Snows from Mamoswine. I think this is a hard Flume counter.
Yep. Read. Okay. Does Chris also fall for the Fighter Panic? Just like the other 3 and then 1 before competitors?
I mean, he doesn't have a fighter. Chris also says that Terrakion is good versus him. What does he need a fighter for, though?
Bad, but is it really great against him? Magnet Bomb, Genesect probably 2 hits it, is super spammy. Rhyperior with Mudslap is probably really good against Terrakion. Goodra is probably also
definitely.
okay. Yeah, I don't see how Chris is too weak against it, if I'm honest. Like, even Lugia probably does a lot with the neutral Sky Attack and Aeroblast and the Dragon Tails.
Yep. So, does he need a fighter, though? He's got a little bit of a steel problem, but with Rhyperior, you handle most steals well, but he could use something for Metagross. As Metagross can bully most of this team.
Darkrai?
Darkrai could be a Metagross. Hydreigon isn't terrible versus Metagross.
It's not too good either, though. Because
it's not.
If I recall correctly, it does get outpaced, and you do have to shield the Meteor matches.
Yep. So, yeah, I could see something for Metagross. Maybe Surfetch is still around. That's not a bad Metagross counter.
Yeah, true. Also, oh, right, I completely slept on Surfetch, by the way. That is probably the by far best fighter that is still around.
Yeah, let's see if he takes... I could see Surfetch going here, specifically just for that Metagross, which seems to be a bit of a problem. You kind of have to run Burn Drive Genesect to handle Metagross, and then you struggle a bit versus Como and Zekrom.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. Nice. Yeah, that's good for that. That's pretty good for Heartbroken Kids team.
The Knight with the Sword and Shield.
Yeah, because Heartbroken has 0 fighting resist on his team, so safe swap Surfetched with close combat Night Slash.
Well.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's really good for him.
Yep. Also, with the Leaf Blade, he can hit the Groudon for super effective damage. And with how squishy Surfetched is, these really hurt.
Yep. So, our last pick of the draft. We still have Kyurem left. We still have Granbull left. We still have... there's one other big name that I'm thinking of. Oh, Articuno's still around. So a couple really good picks left.
He's really weak to Lando, so Articuno might be okay. The problem is it's also double weak to Rock type, but once you get one Icy Wind in, you probably are able to tank one, if I'm honest.
Yeah, Articuno wins that with shields. And Articuno isn't terrible versus Goku's team. The Scissor Pick is a nice Articuno check also. But otherwise, it's fairly neutral.
There we go, Olaf run around saying Venusaur should be drafted. I highly doubt that he will go for Venusaur.
What's the Venusaur for, Olaf? Is it for Stefan's team?
Venusaur is just it's just there for being there. Articuno is really good against Goku and Stefan. True.
Yeah.
Goku only has one answer to it. Well, one real answer. It's not like Zapdos is horrible. They kind of just mutual destruction each other. And Stefan, yeah, also true. The Rock Slice from Excadrill hurt, but it does get debuffed, and so does Heracross with the Rock Blast.
And I think
I could see Articuno go.
Yeah, there's no reason to go Mega Horn, I think, on Heracross against Heater. I think you just go close combat Rock Blast. Unless you, well,
Maybe Spicy
unless,
Earthquake for Jirachi,
ooh,
but I doubt it.
or I could see Earthquake. That would not be too bad. But I think
The problem is,
Close Combat probably does more than
yeah,
an
Close
Earthquake
Combat is
does.
just too good, if I'm honest, and you can't miss out on Rock Blast because of Yveltal, especially.
Okay, Olaf says Frenzy Plant, Earth Power, Venusaur versus Heater. Or not versus Heater. Yeah,
Yes,
well, the problem is
yes,
Olaf, this
against
is
Heater.
Heater's pick.
Yes, Heater is gonna pick Venusaur with Earth Power for his own team. Against his own team, exactly. Yeah,
All right, let's
I
see
think
the.
I think we
What do you
were
think?
right with the Articuno call.
Okay, let's see Articuno or Venusaur.
Virizion.
You know what?
Okay,
That's close to Venusaur. That's
that is
better
fairly
Venusaur.
close to Venusaur. It's better Venusaur. It's a grass type. Somebody called out Tangrowth last pick earlier.
Mhm.
It's not quite Tangrowth, but it is a grass type. The second one in the entire draft. The second real grass type, at least, with Florges being kind of a wannabe. So
Yep.
yeah. F's in the chat for Kyurem, indeed. Rip Kyurem. All of the
Kyurem
other dragons
undrafted.
being
Granbull undrafted.
Granbull undrafted, true. Granbull probably being the harder sacrifice than Kyurem, if we're honest. But yeah, one Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw went unpicked. Yeah, Virizion. What does Virizion really do for him, though? It does handle the Lando weakness fairly well with resisting all of its moves, so
Yep. Yeah, that's really
it
good for
does the
Lando.
thing he needed.
It does struggle a bit versus Gardevoir and Zapdos though, and Meloetta.
Yep,
And
that is
Scizor.
true. And just struggles. It does the Lando and then it struggles.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like at least it's a decent answer to Kyogre as well, which he was fairly weak to up to now, except for his Dialga. As well as Waterfall Melodic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you wrote Dragon Tail, or yeah, Dragon Tail is necessary for Dialga, but
Yeah, but the thing is, does Cabana really want it as his Dialga answer? Because Waterfall is just so much better against Lando, Regirock, and Jirachi.
very true. And he's got Heatran for the premier Dialga counter.
True. But yeah, even if it is Dragon Tail, the fact that you still have these 10-turn Leaf Blades would still make it a pretty good matchup for the Virizion. So yeah,
Oscar wants to
Virizion
know which
considering
team is the
those
best.
water types, the Landos, the best team.
Then why is it his team?
And why is it his team?
I mean, his team is definitely in contention for.
His team is absolutely really, really strong, yeah.
Until we're going to do a poll. Okay, so you should be seeing a poll pop up to vote for the first of the first 5 teams. Which one do you think is the best? Personally, I think I like probably Chris's team the best. I think I like the Lugia Genesect core.
For me, it's something between Crispy for Chris and Cabana, if I'm honest, because Cabana with the Zaza core and then also quite good Dragon Tailers with alternatives. I think it's between Chris and Cabana for me, but Heaters is also absolutely amazing with the 3 really strong legendaries at the beginning, then one pretty good mythical which covered his weaknesses a bit, and then the Virizion pick, which is better than initially thought.
And I'm not a big fan of Stefan's team, mostly just because he doesn't take his Rude counter until Heracross. But it's got the Giratina Gyarados core, which
Swampert is the best counter.
It's got the Giratina Gyarados, which I do really like, so that could work out really nicely for him. But I think of those first 5, I think I like Chris's team best.
Yeah, Lugia immediately one of these Pokemon that you can just bring all of your matches. Doesn't really matter what your opponent runs. Like, it just doesn't really care for its counters even. The bulk and the sheer OP-ness of Aeroblast usually make it viable enough paired with the Dragon Tail. So
hmm
yeah, it was fairly, quote unquote, fairly easy for Chris to build a decent team around it because Lugia alone carries a lot. But then he also got fairly good picks in general with Genesect being so flexible as well as Mew, and then Rhyperior covering the flying types, in
All right.
particular by Flume. Heater won the
Looks like
poll
okay. So
with
the
7.
Yaga team is rising on top with over half the vote, or almost
How
half the
close
votes.
was it? Can we check how close it was? Okay, we had 7 for Heater, 5 for Chris, 2 for Stefan, 1 for Cabana, and 0 for Blue Anthrax.
I don't know. I think that Mewtwo team, it doesn't look really great, but the Mewtwo alone has a lot of play, and the Togekiss, if your opponents don't prepare for it, I think is really good.
Something at least I overlooked up to now is that core of Garchomp Togekiss. So essentially picking Garchomp and then picking its hardest counter is
Mhm.
also something you should respect if we're
Yep.
honest. Like, it's quite Garchomp can run quite rampant if it goes unchecked.
hmm
And we have the
Like
second
Dragon Tail
poll live
Garchomp
now with
looks.
the second half of the draft between Goku and Flume.
And of these, I
So,
think Oscar's team is the clear favorite.
yeah, Oscar getting
Just
Latios round 4, absolutely insane.
yeah, there. It's going to be hard to beat that in the polls. I do like the Meloetta team just because I like Meloetta, but
I'm gonna be honest, Kelsey's and Kid's teams look also very, at least in Kid's case, very interesting, especially because of Como. Because I'd love to see the new one in action. But
mhm.
Kelsey's team looks so very well rounded with those 2 dragons, one of which has a absolutely insane alternative in Shadowclaw. The good new Charmer and Snorlax is one of the best safe swaps in the game for Master League. So I think Kelsey might also be quite up there.
Yeah, her team is very safe. And then Flume with the double flyer in the beginning is a really nice core because it protects against the steel types and Dragonite beats most of the other dragons pretty comfortably. So really, all these teams are solid. I think definitely Oscars is the clear favorite though.
Yep. Yeah, so after these polls, by the way, we will compare these these versions picks with the last ones. So stay tuned.
And I
The
know
poll is
someone picked
going
very
for, I think,
similarly
40
to last
seconds.
season. This poll is winding
Oh,
down.
there we go.
Oh, I can see
Heatran,
it.
Zapdos, and Raikou go up. So do Rhyperior, Empoleon, and Ascaf. And then
And
Kyurem is kind of just absolutely ignored.
wow, yeah, Chiron dropped 20 spots from going mid round 4 to being undrafted. That's crazy.
So did Magnezone, and both Gudra and Tyranitar were drafted much later.
Mhm.
1.5 rounds later.
Yep. Wow.
But yeah, in particular, the 2 electric types and Heatran going that much earlier is quite interesting to see.
I think we know why the Heatran pick is so much earlier than usual, but the electrics is interesting. I wonder if that's from trying to get something for Oscar's team, just because of how strong it looked.
Actually won the poll, by the way, with 7 votes.
Whoa.
So Kelsey wins with 7, Oscar is on second with 5, Goku is on third with 3, and Kid is on fourth with 2, and then Flume has 0 votes. Despite having that super strong core at the beginning, apparently did fall a bit there, according to the poll at least.
So can we do a poll between Kelsey and Heater, just to see who people think the best team is?
Yeah, unfortunately, Twitch doesn't have the option to do more than 5 if I recall correctly. Or at least doesn't have the option to do 10 at once, so we have to work around it with free polls if we do want to find out which people considered the best of the best teams.
Stefan says Ryko did amazing last season, so that might be why. I can see that.
And Kyrum apparently didn't do so hot.
Yeah, I don't remember who had Kyron, but whoever they did must not have sold it very well.
Kyrum,
David asks, why did Magnezone drop? I don't know.
we'll never know.
I'm surprised Cabana didn't take Magnezone again.
Do a third.
You know?
Yeah, people
Doubles.
want this third poll, so let's make this third between Kelsey and Heater won the first one, right?
That's right.
Stefan's joke went over the casters' heads. Was it sarcasm? Did Ryko not do amazing or even good?
Yeah, I guess the joke did go completely over our heads. There it
I'm
went.
gonna be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if he meant it honestly. Oh, Kyrum did very well. Maybe that was the joke.
Kelsey wants everyone to vote Heater.
It went 9.
You know what? Just for that, I voted for you, Kelsey.
Caster curse time. Lol. Reiko is awesome. I think I remember picking it once and it didn't do too hot, I'm gonna be honest, but might have just been me. I can make Porygon work, but only because Porygon is OP.
I mean, we didn't see Porygon drafted. I'm surprised about that, you know? Fairly
I mean,
neutral safe swap.
we aren't in Premier. We are we are in Open, so
True.
not too surprised. Kyrum went 6-6 for me, was totally okay there. Okay, well, that's actually not too shabby.
If it went 6-6, how come you didn't take Kyron this time, though? You know? That wouldn't be
Already
a terrible
had 2
Zarude
dragons
counter.
after the first 2 rounds, didn't need it. But yeah, Kelsey,
That's
you
the
shouldn't
spirit,
have asked
Kelsey.
everybody vote Heater. You kind of jinxed it. Doesn't even matter at this point whether your team is actually better. People just go against the flow. Needed Heracross? Okay, so you wanted Swampert before it, but then you also were forced into not picking it. Alright.
Alright. Well, Hannah, Vargox says that Kelsey will be fine. So, you know, if she says so, then that has to happen.
Hashtag Team Heater. Kelsey betraying her own pawns.
Who would win? Who do you think wins between Kelsey and Heater? Just like their own matchup.
Kind of a hard question. I think Kelsey has this amazing safe swap with Giratina. The only real problem is Yveltal. But with a good
And
enough
Dialga.
energy advantage, it might. Yeah, but Dialga is easily flippable with the neutral Dragon Claws if you get like 2 Shadow Claws advantage. Yveltal, on the other hand, I think you need a bit more of an advantage against. Because you do get 2-hit KO'd by Dark Pulse, and the fact that it has a 24 turn pace to get to 2 of those is kind of rough, especially in particular because it resists the Shadow Claws, which Dialga doesn't. So you only need 3 charge moves against Dialga, while I think you need 4 against Yveltal, which is kind of rough. Primarina, however, looks pretty good here. The only problem is, do you want Waterfall or Charm? Because 3 Pokemon are screaming Waterfall, but then the other 2 are shouting, no, you definitely want Charm.
Well, it's 3 and 3 because Virizion wants Charm as well.
True.
I think Escad looks really good for Kelsey.
No, Yveltal actually doesn't really matter, I think, because you'd be forced to run Hurricane to make this matchup better. But I think you still lose it, even with Waterfall Primarina. So it's actually just Dialga and Virizion that are really horrible and unplayable with Waterfall.
Right.
You definitely
But
run
Escab,
Charm.
I think, is going to be really good for Kelsey. Besides Lando, she can just safe swap it.
True. even Yveltal, as we talked about before, doesn't like the Mega Horns. Firefang Rash. Yeah, true. It's better against Virizion, but much better against Jirachi. Just as good against Lando, or just as bad against Lando and Yveltal. Worse against Regirock, but you kind of don't really want that matchup anyways, and essentially just as good against Dialga as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I could see Firefang. Regirock is too good to run Firefang yet. Is that true? Regirock kinda only looks good against Reshiram, if I'm honest.
I
Gust
mean,
Yveltal? That is probably the correct call though. Because it is less spammy, but you don't really need the spamminess necessarily.
mhm. Without Snarl, you still beat Giratina with it. So I think Gus makes
Yep.
sense. Nice. So I think we
So yeah,
can look at.
I'd say
Mhm.
it is quite an even matchup, but I think Kelsey might have the upper hand here.
Okay. And you're thinking that from the Giratina, whereas I think she has the upper matchup from the Escav.
Cavalier also helping out there, because the thing is, you can easily bait out some stuff. For
Mhm.
example, like if they do save swap as Cavalier, then it does immediately force out the Lando, which in return means that your Reshiram, for example, dodges the Lando. And then going from there, you can just essentially snowball the opponent by getting an energy advantage.
All right. Can we compare these to last season's just to get a heads up on how that worked or how that looks from last season's? Because I know Stefan's team was very similar to what Snipebraw's team looked like, with only a couple substitutions. We're told that'll be up in just a moment. Yeah, Heater has no fast move pressure against Escav. I mean, Gus is pretty good fast move pressure against Escav. And we think we agree that we go Gust here. Nope. Nexus, are you there?
Yes, my internet is alive again.
Okay.
After being gone for approximately a minute or so.
Aha. Yeah, so we're just pulling up the last season's picks. I know Sniper's team was similar to Stefan's. I've seen much later. And okay, looks like we have a rough image of both. Here, can you take away our camera? Already went down, Dave. So by that I mean my microphone went to it.
Okay, now it works a bit better again. Let's hope it stays that way.
All right. So we've got both drafts from last season to this season. Be the same first four, just in a different order.
Well, it's not at least the first three.
First four, because
Yeah, but the
is
fourth
fourth.
is still in the same place.
Oh yeah. I see. Zekrom went a lot earlier, but that was because Cabana could take Zekrom fifth rather than forced to take Zarude third, or not Zarude's Zacian.
And then Mewtwo also went earlier.
Who did? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Mewtwo went earlier, and Palkia stayed at the same spot.
Yep. Melmetal went quite a bit early. Yeah, that steal of Melmetal mid-second round is crazy.
Dragonite essentially the same pick.
Yep. And Ho-Oh went up a couple spots, which makes sense because it didn't have Sacred Fire last season, but now it does. So that increased its viability a little bit. Let's see what. Lando went earlier, but that's because it was with the
We still saw the pair of Giratina and Gary.
But no Mamoswine, so that's when Stefan had to start thinking of his.
Also Excadrill though, yeah. Same first free picks. And we did see Walrein go way earlier. Yeah, way
Yeah,
earlier.
it went early round 3 instead of early round 4.
And Yveltal slightly earlier than this time. Garchomp a good bit later than this time around.
Oh yeah,
Mew
wow,
and
all the way
Genesect
to
very
round 3.
comparable to where they've been picked this time. Togekiss same spot.
Yep. Zamazenta went a little bit earlier. Gudra went way earlier.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, we saw it in the Falling and Rising Stars. So
see
now
it
we
here
can
too.
see just how much earlier visually.
Around late round 3 instead of early round 5.
And we do see Rayquaza and Hydreigon being picked last time around, as well as Granbull, Magnezone, and Kyurem, which all went unpicked this time around.
Where is Heatran?
Early round 4.
Okay. So Heatran got that big.
Yeah, so we do see Empoleon, Primarina, Kommo-o, and I think Surfetched as new arrivals, who are substituting for Kyurem, Magnezone, Rayquaza, and Hydreigon.
That's correct. And Como and just are new picks, whereas the others are just substitutions for what people wanted.
I'm a bit surprised by Primarina going this early, like late round 3 is pretty early, if we're honest. But I suppose that is just what comes with a Charmer with a good typing and good stats.
Yeah, there wasn't as much of a charm panic last season as compared to this one, because we see Togekiss around 3, Sylveon around 4.
We just see Togekiss, then Gardevoir half a round later, Sylveon
Yep.
another half a round later.
What's the pick? What's the very last pick from last season? Is that Verizon as well? No, it's Terrakion. So we see the Justice in the last round, and they go towards the end. So that seems to be pretty standard. Thank you. Armor Mewtwo went about the same spot, even though we both thought it was a little late, but it went basically in the same slot.
Yeah, similar to Scissor, which also went in the last round, just I believe it's 2 picks later than last season, and Terrakion 2 picks earlier than last season.
And yeah, but we see the same fighters. Although they went a little bit last time because Machamp and Kunk went in round 5.
Same order as well, except for Escavalier.
Yep. Yeah. And who? I can't read the name it took. I don't think was last season, or at least I can't read that. So she couldn't take her Escav earlier.
Oh,
And we still-
actually, Floorjazz wasn't there last season either, if I see that correctly. So what did that substitute? What else do we have on the last sheet that we don't have on this one? Oh,
we
Granville, of
have.
course. Granville, I'm
Oh
sorry.
yes, can't forget Granville.
So yeah, Granville, Hydreigon, Rayquaza, Magnezone, and Kyurem. So 3 Dragon Breathers went out for Empoleon, Surfetched, Floorjazz, Primarina, and Como. So 1 Dragon and 2 Fairies. And 1 Fighter and 1 Steel type.
So 2 fighters and 2 fairies, really. Is there anything else that we need to? Okay. All right, so I think that is all. Let's look ahead at the first battle coming up, which will be really to see who's battling whom and these teams that we just last couple and see them in real life. Will be happening on Saturday, April 9th. So from today, we're in the first round.
Yeah, I'm not sure we know who will battle whom yet, but yeah, next stream, Saturday, April 9th, the battlers should definitely be announced sometime before that. Don't know when exactly, but a couple days earlier.
A big thank you to Warbooks for promote the organizing behind the scenes, as well as Dr. Dave and Polar Bears and Steph for organizing this. And thank you to Nexus for joining me today for this stream.
Yeah, so who do we want to rate? Chat, any ideas? Do you have any particular ideas? I see that a good couple of Pokemon Go streamers are online, including Dragon Silk and Ineloquence, so any particular ideas? Hannah, I'd prefer to rate Dragon Silk over Ineloquence because Ineloquence already has a good couple of viewers. So Dragon Silk, but instead of the L, there's a 1. Yep. No, actually, it's instead of the I. I'm sorry. Yes.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining in, and go give some love to Dragon Silk once we hop over there.